has hit 3 straight threes.
This guy has been incredible.
Roddy Beaubois, on February 24th, 1988. Roddy Beaubois arrived in Dallas as one of those players who didn't need much time to catch people's attention. In flashes, he looked electric, fast, confident, and capable of putting up points in a hurry. As a rookie, he even dropped 40 points in a game, hitting 9 threes against Steph Curry, and had fans wondering if the Mavericks had quietly found their next dynamic guard. But almost as quickly as that excitement appeared, it started getting interrupted. Foot injuries, hand injuries, and long stretches of missed time kept stopping his momentum before it could really build. By the time his rookie contract ended, Beaubois had never played at least 60 games in the NBA. He was supposed to be the future of the Dallas Mavericks, competing with Steph Curry in the 2009 draft class still to this day, but for these reasons, his growth was stunted. What happened? Let's talk about it. It's your boy JC Stunted Growth. Let's get it, man. Like, comment, and subscribe, and let me know who I should do next. Roddy Beaubois is a 6'2" guard from Guadeloupe, a French overseas region in the Caribbean. Long before NBA fans saw him in Dallas, Beaubois was already known overseas for his speed and scoring ability. He began gaining attention playing professionally in France for Cholet Basket, where his quick first step, nearly 6'10" wingspan, and smooth shooting made him one of the more intriguing young guards in Europe basketball. By 2009, NBA scouts were fascinated with his upside as a combo guard who could both score and create offense. The Dallas Mavericks selected him with the 25th pick in the 2009 NBA draft, acquiring his rights in a trade with Oklahoma City. At the time, Dallas viewed him as a developmental player who could eventually grow into a scoring weapon alongside Dirk Nowitzki. Beaubois wasted little time showing flashes. As a rookie during the 2009-10 season, he displayed explosive scoring ability and surprising confidence for a young player adjusting to the NBA. His biggest moment came when he erupted for 40 points against the Golden State Warriors, one of the highest scoring games ever by a Mavericks rookie. Performances like that had people in Dallas believing they may have found a hidden gem in the late first round. He became the first rookie in NBA history to average 50% from the field, shoot 40% from 3, and at least 80% from the foul line. Still just 22 years old and showing elite quickness with natural scoring instincts, Beaubois entered the following season viewed as a promising young guard with significant upside. The Mavericks had great reason to believe his development could eventually give them another dynamic offensive weapon in the backcourt. Stunt number 1, injuries reset his momentum. We've all heard the famous saying, everything is mental. Well, in sports or performing at a high level with as much pressure as a level like the NBA, that couldn't be more true. Basketball players are only as good as they think they are for whatever reason. Just as Roddy Beaubois was beginning to settle into the league and believe in his NBA game, injuries started interrupting his progress in ways that made it difficult for him to ever establish real momentum. The first major setback came in August of 2010. While training with the French national team during the offseason, Beaubois fractured his foot. The injury required surgery and immediately forced him to miss the beginning of the 2010-11 NBA season. Instead of entering his second year focused on expanding his role in Dallas, he spent months rehabbing and working simply to return to the court. By the time he was cleared to play, the Mavericks had already developed a stable rotation built around their veteran core. Players like Jason Kidd, Jason Terry, and Deshaun Stevenson were already firmly established, leaving little room for experimentation with the younger players still trying to regain form after injury. Beaubois eventually returned later in the season, but the missed time had already disrupted what should have been an important developmental year. Then another setback arrived at the worst possible time. During the 2011 playoffs, Beaubois sprained his left foot in a game against who? Golden State. The injury kept him from seeing meaningful action for the rest of the postseason. As the Mavericks went on their historic run through Portland, Los Angeles, Oklahoma City, and Miami to win the first championship in franchise history, Beaubois spent much of that stretch unable to contribute. Unfortunately, the injury problems didn't stop there. In June of 2011, he underwent another surgery on the same left foot, marking the second procedure on that foot within a year. For a guard whose game depended heavily on quickness and burst, repeated foot injuries were especially difficult to overcome. Each time he seemed ready to re-enter the rotation, another physical setback forced him back into recovery mode, preventing him from ever building the consistency young players need early in their careers. Stunt number 2, the team couldn't wait on development. By the time Roddy Beaubois was healthy enough to compete again, the situation around him in Dallas had already changed. The Mavericks were no longer a team experimenting with young players or waiting to see who might develop into something bigger. After winning the 2011 NBA championship, Dallas had fully shifted into win-now mode mentality built around veterans and experience. The organization was focused on keeping a competitive roster around Dirk Nowitzki while their championship window was still open. For a young guard still trying to find rhythm after injuries, that environment left very little room for mistakes. Head coach Rick Carlisle had always favored reliable veterans who understood their roles, especially on a team trying to contend in the Western Conference. Players like Kidd, Terry, and later additions like O.J. Mayo and Darren Collison filled the guard rotation with experienced options the coaching staff trusted. That meant Beaubois often found himself fighting for minutes rather than being developed through consistent playing time. When he did get opportunities, they were usually short bursts off the bench. One night he might see 15 minutes, the next only a few. That kind of inconsistency made it difficult for him to settle into a role or develop the confidence young guards often need to grow. There were still flashes, like in January of 2013, where he scored a team-high 19 points in just 16 minutes against the San Antonio Spurs, showing the same scoring ability that had once made him intriguing to Mavericks fans. Those performances reminded many that the talent was still there, but just as those moments appeared, another injury would follow. Late in the 2012-13 season, Beaubois fractured the second metacarpal in his left hand, requiring surgery and once again cutting his season short. By that point, it had become a frustrating pattern. Just when he seemed ready to carve out a consistent place in the rotation, another injury or roster shift would push him back out of it. Stunt number 3, his career never lasted long enough to stabilize. By the time Roddy Beaubois reached the end of his rookie contract, one thing had become impossible to ignore. He had simply never been able to stay on the floor long enough to build a stable NBA career. It wasn't about talent, as he would have grew almost perfectly into what the game is today and is still enjoying success in Europe. In 4 seasons with the Dallas Mavericks, Beaubois never played more than 56 games in a single season. Injuries to his foot, his hand, and other small setbacks repeatedly interrupted his availability. For a young player trying to prove he belonged in the league, that lack of continuity made it extremely difficult to establish trust with the coaching staff or secure a permanent role in the rotation. Availability is important in the NBA, especially for players who aren't already established stars. Coaches need reliability and front offices need to know they can count on a player throughout an 82-game season. Unfortunately for Beaubois, every time he appeared ready to contribute consistently, something physical seemed to pull him back off the court again. Because of that, Dallas never truly got a chance to see what he could become over a full season. Instead, his career in the NBA became a series of short stretches where he would return, try to regain rhythm, and then disappear again due to another injury setback. Even Nowitzki reacted with sadness when reflecting on Roddy's career. When his rookie contract expired after the 2012-13 season, the Mavericks chose not to bring him back. Despite the flashes he had shown over the years, the organization ultimately moved forward with other options in the backcourt. After leaving the NBA, Beaubois continued his professional career overseas, where he eventually carved out a strong and respected role in European basketball, particularly in the EuroLeague. And in many ways, that ending reflects the frustrating reality of his NBA run. The talent was clearly there, and the flashes proved it more than once. But between injuries, inconsistent availability, and the timing of Dallas's championship window, his opportunity to fully develop at the NBA level never lasted long enough to truly stabilize. All in all, Roddy Beaubois' NBA career is one of those stories where timing and health played a bigger role than talent. The flashes were always there. His speed, scoring ability, and confidence showed that he had the tools to become a dangerous guard in the league. But basketball careers are built on consistency, and that was the one thing Beaubois never had the chance to establish in Dallas. Between foot injuries, a broken hand, and multiple stretches of missed time, his development kept getting reset before it could really move forward. Add in the fact the Mavericks were chasing championships during those years, and the margin for patiently developing a young player simply wasn't there. By the time his rookie contract ended, Beaubois had shown enough to intrigue people, but not enough to secure a long-term role in the NBA. And just like that, his NBA career was over. Still, continuing his career overseas proved that his talent never disappeared. It just never had the opportunity to fully unfold during his time in the NBA. Salute, much respect, but for these reasons, his growth was stunning. It's your boy JC Stunted Growth, and I'm out.